Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of Automotive Drama. Today I got a pretty good one, but this is a good lesson because there's a lot of engines that have something like this. I still got this Suzuki Grand Vitara. I call it the Suzuki, it used to be the Samurai, the big fat one, and that's a Suzuki Sumo Wrestler, but that's just what I call it. Let me show you something. You see those two marks that I put in that mirror? One of those is on the reluctor for the camshaft sensor. It's pretty hard to see, and the one is on the actual part of the sensor. Now the reason I did that, and I didn't take a video of the back of the gear because it's really can't really tell, but it only goes in one way and it's offset. Now when I took it apart, you can see I marked it there. I put a white line and I put another mark there. So I knew I'd put it back in the exact same spot, and I shouldn't have any timing issues. It is a 360 degree sensor, so it's got to be really close. But anyways, when I took it off, I didn't take the cap off because this is actually just has a cap on it. And actually, yeah, I marked the cap because it was just easier to pull the whole sensor. And I knew I marked it, and I knew I would, when I went to go put it together, I would look at it in that issue. But it only goes one way. So I figured out which way that you got to look into the back of the cam. And there's a slot. And so what I did, that's why I marked where that cam, where I showed you those marks in the mirror up here, because I wanted to know, I put a mark there, and that's where I put the lined up, that's where that mark that you're seeing on the reluctor, that goes conjunction with the slot, and I put a mark there, so I just lined them up so I knew where I was starting. Now when you put this thing, you wiggle it in, and you got to take your fingers and you got to be real gentle back there, because you make sure your fingers are clean, because I don't know if you can see that reluctor wheel. You really don't even want to touch it there. You want to touch it in the center, and you got to kind of fish it. Now I also took my finger and I lined up where approximation of where the slot on the back of the camshaft was pointing to, and it was basically right here on the top of this bolt. So I had a general idea when I put it in, but when you're sliding in, you got to be very gentle, and it'll get to a point and you'll feel it. It'll feel like it's clipped in. You give it a little push, and make sure you lube up that O-ring really good so it slides nicely. But you give it a little push, and if it tightens up real quick, then it's 180 out. You got to back it up, and that's why I marked it. I moved it exactly 180 degrees the other way, and then when I wiggled it in, I wiggled the top of that where that bolt was. I didn't touch the reluctor, and I wiggled as I was pushing the whole assembly in, which is right here. I wiggle, and I felt it kind of click, and I gave it a little wiggle, and it slipped right in. Do not force that thing in. Even if you think it's lined up, make sure it goes in by hand. And after it goes in by hand, you should have just a little bit of, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but there should be just a tiny bit of play in there. You can see how much my fingers are moving it. If you don't have that play in there, then you got it wedged in there, and I don't know how you got it the wrong way, or you got it wedged in some way, but that definitely has to have some kind of little bit of play in it, because it's not even a gear, it's just two slots that are offset. Anyways, I figured this would be a good one for everybody. So like always, likes are nice, subscribes are better. Thanks for tuning in, and ring the bell for more episodes. Have a good night.